Hey YouTubers, welcome back to AZ2 Ozarks. This video will focus on raising Cornish Cross chicks for meat birds. These chicks grow very quickly, and today I've just picked them up, so they are about 2 days old today. They hatched on Sunday and it's now Tuesday. We picked them up from the store and there were 25 in this box. However, one of them was deceased already, so they went ahead and replaced it with 2. So we actually have 26 birds, and I've split them into 2 separate boxes for the time being, just until we move the laying hens out of the brooder box tomorrow into their new coop. The chicks are now 1 week old and they are in the brooder. And we have 2 lights set up for them. Right now, only one is on, and they don't huddle under it because the days are getting pretty nice and warm. So at night, if it's going to be cold, I turn on both lights. I keep them with plenty of water. So you can see that they've gotten quite a bit bigger already. As you can see that they're really growing. And this is interesting because you may recall when we picked them up, there were 25, but one was already dead in the box. So the store went ahead and gave me 2 as replacements. We got home and within an hour or so, another had died. And then I think the next day, another still. So we're down to 24 birds. But I wanted to show you this little guy over here. It's a fast one. There we are. Okay, this one here is not a Cornish Cross. This little guy is something different. Whew, he's a good flyer already as well. We're hoping it's a female and that, well, it's a laying bird. We just don't know what type yet, but it's quite a bit different than the rest of the chicks. So let's get to numbers as far as eating. In the last segment, I told you I was wetting their food. Well, I'm giving them dry food. The reason I was giving wet food, which was simply mixing their food with water and allowing it to soak it up, was because they can be very wasteful. They flick their food out of the dishes, and I hate to see them wasting their food. But we just processed our last batch of meat birds, and in the last week, we had 4, a total of 4, just die randomly. And they didn't seem to have anything wrong with them, and we just were kind of chalking it up to poor genetics and growing really fast, and so their organs just couldn't handle it, that kind of thing. We had them in the meat tractor. I was moving them 3 times a day. They had constant access to food and water and fresh grass. Plus I gave them grit, as I do these guys, so you can see some grit is right there. But when we butchered these birds, most of them, their craw was empty, which is weird. I hadn't withheld food from them all the way up until the time we did butchering, because we ended up doing it a day early because another one had passed away that morning. And so I wanted to butcher them right away, but their craws were empty. And the only thing, my husband's the one who brought it up. He said, well, if their craw's empty, maybe that wet food was just passing through them too quickly. Maybe that's why they were so hungry, they were eating so much, and the food was just passing through and not processing. I don't know if that's the case or not. But now I am giving these guys dry food. Our laying hens are still getting fermented food, but they're on a different type of feed, which is whole grains, and their whole grains don't turn into mush like this organic chick feed does. So in the first week, these guys ate a total of 15 cups of food, but you're probably more interested in weight. So that was 82.5 ounces, which is just over 5 pounds of food. So 24 birds in 1 week, week 1, they ate just over 5 pounds of food. It will continue to increase, and it will increase exponentially as they get bigger. So I'll keep you updated, but this is what they are looking like at 1 week of age. So this is 7 days old. Now the chicks are 2 weeks old, and they have certainly increased their appetites. Now we have 24 birds, and they ate just about 17.5 pounds of food this last week, and that works out to about 0.7 pounds per bird for the week. And they are growing very, very rapidly. Let's see if we can find that odd one. Oh, there he is over in the corner again. That one there is a different kind of bird, maybe like a laying hen of some sort. So we'll see, but they are doing well. They are still in the brooder. I think they will stay in the brooder until they are 3 weeks old. At this point, I am able to clean the brooder's pine chips once a week. That will change this week. I suspect halfway through the week I'll have to change it because it'll get too messy. I like to keep it nice and fresh and clean. I'm still providing free feed all day long, so they have plenty to eat 24 hours a day, as well as they have grit and water. I occasionally put some garden scrap or kitchen scraps like cabbage leaves, things like that out here, and they haven't been terribly interested just yet. That will change. They certainly will get more interested as they get a little bit older. Now the chicks are 3 weeks old, and I have not moved them out to the chicken tractor yet because it's raining and it's supposed to rain the next several days. With that, I don't want them to be out there where they're constantly getting wet, because I move the chicken tractor at least once a day when they're this size, and if I move it to the ground, we'll all be wet and they'll be wet, and I don't want them to get sick or anything like that. So they're staying in the brooder for a little while longer. We're not having any issues with them fighting or anything yet, but I have increased to 3 feeding stations to make sure everybody has a place at the food and water, so to keep from having issues. I do use the heat lamp, 1 lamp at night. The birds are starting to get in their white feathers. They won't fully feather because this type of breed, the Cornish Cross, they don't really feather out very nicely. You can see over here is the one laying hen. I'm hoping it's a hen. Still don't know what it is, but you can see that it is dramatically smaller than the other birds. Well, I guess they're gonna fight right now on screen. That one is going to stay with them for a while longer just because I can't put it in with the laying hens. It's too small, and it's been with these guys, and I don't want it to be by itself. I could put it in a brooder box by itself, but that's just kind of sad. So these birds are now 3 weeks old. Over the last week, they ate a total of 28.95 pounds. So basically 29 pounds of food. They are consuming a lot at this point. The chicks are 3.5 weeks old now, and we have a little break in the weather where it's not supposed to rain for a couple days. So I moved the Cornish Cross chicks out to the chicken tractor, and this is where they will be in the tractor until the end of their lives. And so this tractor, I will move it as much as needed to keep them in fresh grass and make sure that they don't have a lot of poop or anything around them. And so right now that's probably just once or twice a day. However, it will increase certainly to at least 3 times a day. And they have a big food bucket and water out here. This gives them access to grass to nibble on, insects, and they get to scratch around and act like normal chickens. There's also a tarp on the brooder to allow them shade at certain times of the day when they need it. And if it does rain, I can cover the entire thing so that they don't get wet. When the water can come up underneath, of course, but hopefully they will have enough feathers that it won't be an issue. And there is a closing and locking lid on the top to protect them from predators. The Cornish Cross are now 4 weeks old, and I am currently moving their chicken tractor twice a day. I just moved them now, and so I leave their feeding container outside of their pen for a while when I first moved them, because you can see that they're just really vigorously pecking, and they love these little yellow flowers quite a bit. They always have access to water, of course, but I'm just talking about 10 minutes or so. I leave them without their food to encourage them to get lots of grass pecking in there. And I have been adding grit so that they can process everything really well. This last week, they kind of slowed down on their food consumption increase rate. So it is more than the third week, but this week the second week, this week they ate 30.5 pounds of food. Now the Cornish Cross are 4 weeks old, and this last week they ate a total of 39 pounds between 23 birds, so that's about 1.7 pounds each. So definitely an increase from last week. It's been raining a lot, so I've had their chicken tractor covered with a tarp to keep the rain off of them, but still moving them. I'm moving them 3 times a day now. And these guys definitely like eating the grass way more than our last batch. Maybe it's a different time of year, or who knows, but these guys are enjoying the grasses. They have also feathered much nicer than our last batch, but they're eating a lot less. So I think we're much happier with this batch, but we're probably going to have to go to 8 weeks before butchering time. The chicks are 5 weeks old now. They have feathered nicely, and they're starting to get quite big. They're a little on the muddy side today because we had quite a bit of rain, and I move their chicken tractor frequently to try and keep them on grass so they don't have mud, but you know, they eat it and scratch it up and all of that. But it's not raining today, so they're probably appreciating that they don't have to be covered up by the tarp today. This week they ate a full 50-pound sack of feed. So that's just over 2 pounds per bird. That's quite a bit of feed. So we'll see how quickly they are ready for processing. I'm thinking they're going to go longer than 6 weeks. We would like them to be between 8 and 10 pounds total weight, and that gives us between 4 and 5 pounds butchered weight. So we will check back next week and see how they're doing. Can you believe it's been 6 weeks already? So these Cornish Cross chicks are 6 weeks old, and the trick now is keeping them in shade and with lots of cool, fresh water, because it's getting pretty warm. And these birds, I don't think they have as good ability to cool themselves, but I'm still moving them 3 to 4 times a day to keep them on fresh grass because they do have a lot of waste. And I will be weighing them today in order to see how heavy they are. This is the age at which we butchered the last batch, but we got some birds that were pretty small butchered weight, and the high end of 3 pounds and low end of 4 pounds was kind of the norm. We had a couple that were 5 pounds. So we might go another week with these guys. I'm so happy to report that we haven't lost any since very early on. So we still have the 23 birds here. Well, I've got some bad news to report. I had to go into town and do some errands, and I came back and the chickens had knocked over their water. So it was completely empty, and it was the hottest part of the day. Today was, I think 93 degrees, and well, we had 3 die, and these 2 were looking pretty poorly. We hosed down all of the birds, got them fresh water, put some in the pool, and we're going to put this pool in their coop in a second with a little bit of water for them to stand in should they prefer to. But these guys I don't think are going to pull out of it. We weighed the birds and they're all between 7 and 8 pounds right now. Which will be a decent harvest. It's not great, but these 2 we're going to butcher because they're still alive, and I don't think they are going to make it. So we're going to butcher these guys right now. The other 3, we've asked the neighbors if they want them for their dogs. So Cornish Cross. Today is the day. These Cornish Cross meat birds are 7 weeks old today,
In the last week, they ate about 42.5 pounds of feed between the 18 of them. So that was about 2.3 pounds each. They are hungry this morning, and I'm not giving them their food because we are butchering. The guys have another project, so I will be doing this, but I do have the help of a friend who just recently moved here from Arizona, and she wanted to learn the process. So I'm gonna go get everything set up. I will not be showing you the butchering process because YouTube, but I will let you know all the weights and averages and all that, maybe price conversion when I am finished. Now I am finished butchering all of the Cornish Cross chicks, and I want to talk numbers with you. So I'm going to go over a lot of numbers so that you know what the cost is and the expense involved in raising these birds organically. So that was something that I chose to do because these birds are for our family and I wanted them to be organic. So I was purchasing the feed at Tractor Supply Company, and the feed was $26.99 per bag for a 40-pound bag. Now, these chickens I purchased in a package of 25, and they were $2.79 each. And of course, we did have a couple die right in the beginning. We have one that is a laying hen, and we still have that bird. She has now moved out to free range with the other laying hens, as well as go into the coop at night. The average butchered weight for the chickens was 6 pounds. We had the lightest one was 4.75 pounds and the heaviest was 7 pounds. This is this one right here. That is a big bird. I do not butcher them down into portions. I leave them as a whole bird, and frankly, that's just because I'm not very good at it. So people may butcher the legs and breasts separately, and that's great, and at some point I hope to hone that skill, but I just don't have it right now. So if we look at the two birds that passed away a few days early, or a week early, I had fed them each 10.03 pounds of food. Their combined butchered weight was 10 pounds. So their feed cost was $6.77 each, plus their cost of purchase was a total of $9.56, making them $1.91 per pound of butchered weight. The remaining 18 birds that I just processed ate approximately 12.39 pounds of feed each. So that was $8.36 plus their initial cost. So they were $11.15 each, making their average cost per pound $1.85, since they were an average of 6 pounds. Most people in this area are selling their farm-raised chickens for about $5.50, $5.65 a pound. These are organic, so they could probably fetch a premium. So if my cost is $1.85 a pound, I would still be making money. I hope that this clarifies some things for you and helps you understand what to expect. So finishing out a Cornish Cross all the way to 8 weeks old for a big butchering size would be approximately 12.5 pounds of feed. So you can plan on that much feed for each bird. The locals tell me that for market birds, it's best to raise right around a 4-pound bird. So the high 3s to the low 4 pounds is what sells best. People don't want to buy birds that are quite as big, and I can understand at that premium price. However, for our family to make a meal out of these, I definitely am happy with the 6 pound average. That's much better for our family size. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to keep following our adventure.